finally video of 2025. We want to thank you all for joining us this Christmas. I know we haven't posted really at all this year up till the end of November, but here we are in the end of December, and this is our last video of the year. So, part of what we did in December was ranking Christmas specials of Marvel, Star Wars, and DC. Well, the thing is, all three of those franchises have had new projects this year, and since it's the end of the year, I thought, what better way to cap off the year than a final ranking, and that is ranking everything that we got from Marvel, Star Wars, and DC this year. So, from January to December, everything we've gotten this year, and then after that, we'll also be going over what we are getting from shows and movies next year. And I'm not going to be ranking my excitement for those, but I will be giving what I think is of those three, what I'm most excited for in each of them and what I'm least excited for in each of them. And we'll just leave it at that. Maybe we'll do another ranking next year once those are all out. So, let us begin with the ranking. So, I want to mention that there is a certain threshold. I don't think any of these are particularly awful, like genuinely bad. But there is like a certain threshold where I was like, okay, these are all the really good projects, and then everything below that, it's kind of just like, what do I like more out of the projects that I didn't really love? And so we have about 12 projects throughout Marvel, Star Wars, and DC this year. I also want to mention both Star Wars and DC had shows that began in December of last year and ran through January with Skeleton Crew and Creature Commandos. But I elected to not include those since I think the majority of episodes came out last year, and so I just decided I won't include those. So those wouldn't be included, though I think Skeleton Crew would be very high up on the list. I very much enjoyed that show. Creature Commandos, I'm not entirely sure how I would rank that, but that is not important right now. So, we have 12 movies and shows here, so let's get right into it. So coming in last place at number 12, this may be an unfortunate one, Eyes of Wakanda. This is, I think, the only project here that I never finished. And that's not to say that it's bad, I just didn't enjoy it as much, and I don't think that I thought the animation was really cool. I thought the stories were somewhat interesting, but I just don't think it really, I didn't find it as interesting, or did I think that it was like as important. It didn't seem like any of these characters would really come back, or any of these characters would really have any role or anything like that, so I just didn't enjoy it as much. I think the only episode I didn't see was the finale, but other than that, I saw the rest of the season, and I thought it was okay, but something has to be at the bottom, and I think that Eyes of Wakanda just barely scratched that. So number 11, this one really hurts to say because this was one of the best trilogies in the Infinity Saga, Captain America: Brave New Worlds. I'm giving this movie the benefit of the doubt. The movie that we got, I think, belongs here, belongs this lower. But I think if they were able to tell the story that they wanted to tell, the thing about Captain America: Brave New World, that I want to give it the benefit of the doubt, that it went through years and years of development hell. It was just torn apart, put back together, torn apart, put back together, actors leaving the project, new people coming in, storylines that were gonna be in it completely altered and changed, and just so the story just kind of like it. There are definitely some elements that I think were really good, and I think that there is a good movie there. Is it as like on par with some of the best of Captain America? No, obviously not. But I think that there were definitely, when I was watching it, unfortunately this was one of the movies I elected to watch at home instead of in the theaters. There's some other movies I saw in the theaters, but this one was not. But this, to me, it felt like I mean, I knew ahead of time that it was kind of cut up, and to me, what it looked like was that the story kind of like, they really just let it cut it down to basically just, all right, here are all the major plot points. So like we go from point A to point B to point A to point B, and there wasn't really much time in between that to me to like sort of take time with the characters as much. Harrison Ford was really good. I think you could tell he was trying his absolute best to give a really good performance in this. And I felt like that came across. I thought he was really good. And honestly, Sam Wilson, Captain America, was not that bad in this. I thought he was good. It's hard to replace a character that is, not really replace, but like come in to take over for a character that is so like beloved in fans, that is Steve Rogers' Captain America. So it's really hard to like go into that and, you know, stand out as much. So moving on to number 10, we have Ironheart. So this is an interesting one. Similarly, this was supposed to come out, I think, several years before, but then it got delayed. But I don't really feel as much that it was chopped up than it was with Captain America. I thought, at the very least, the main villain, the Hood, was interesting. Mephisto was kind of cool to see at the end. The character of Ironheart, she was okay. I think going into it, though, there is some problems. But what I saw, and I didn't really care as much for the villain team or like that gang or something. I didn't really care for them all that much. I don't think they made too much of an impact. The character of Ezekiel Stane, I thought he was good at times, but then he just kind of became a villain, and I don't know. I don't know if it really worked as well, but I mean, I liked the fact that he became a villain. I thought that, and I liked how he had a connection to the first Iron Man movie, you know, bringing in the fact that Obadiah Stane had a son and we never knew about it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing his character again to sort of explore that. Maybe in Armor Wars if we ever get that. But overall, I think the show, it was okay. I saw a review afterwards that kind of called it like the tragedy of Riri Williams, which I personally, like, looking at the show from that way made it so much more interesting, as like this character who has character flaws but does not grow from them. She does not grow or changes the character. She doubles down and she goes down a darker path, and that leads her to making a deal with the devil. And I think that honestly made the show more interesting to me. Yeah. So, moving on to number 9, we have Marvel Zombies. I liked Marvel Zombies. I thought it was good. I thought the 4 episodes worked out okay. I think it worked better than the What If episode. I think it expanded the story better. There were certain plot points that I would have liked to see get picked up from the show. I think Moon Knight, Blade kind of got a little bit short-turned. I like the fact that they brought in a bunch of the newer characters and gave them more story. Like, I liked that Ms. Marvel, Shang-Chi, and all these other characters got included. Red Guardian was cool. I would have liked to see more of Yelena. I think she just kind of showed up for like a couple episodes and then died. She didn't do a whole lot, and she's a good character, so that'd be cool. Similarly, there were other characters like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, that died pretty early on. We didn't get a lot of Moon Knight, or we did get a good bit of Moon Knight Blade. He survived to the very end, but like, you know, he dies in the last episode, and there were just a couple characters that I would like to see more of. Yeah. So there are talks about it maybe getting a season 2, and if it does, I'd be down to see what they do with the story from there. Yeah, I think I enjoyed the fact that it had a darker ending where it isn't just all happy-go-lucky and seemingly zombie 1-to-1. Yeah. Moving on to number 8, we have Tales of the Underworld. This is our first of the Star Wars, and this is an interesting one because to me, the way I look at the Tales Up series, I think I I enjoy them for the most part, but they're kind of hit and miss at times. And I think they're honest. I think they should keep making them. I don't think necessarily that they're bad, and I think they're a really good idea. But what I mean when I say like they're hit and miss is that oftentimes what I find with the Tales of series is because they have two characters and they each get 3 episodes to we see different points in their life, and oftentimes what I find that when it comes to this there is one character that is way more interesting, and then there's another character that is just like not all that interesting and just like they're okay. I think Tales of the Jedi probably it was pretty good in that regard. I think Dooku easily the best of all of the Tales of series arcs is Dooku's story in Tales of the Jedi. Ahsoka honestly wasn't that bad, but it just kind of felt like just more episodes of the Clone Wars. It wasn't all that exciting. I think Tales of the Empire definitely was the worst balance because I think even Bear Sophia's story, which I think was the best, wasn't as good as it maybe could have been. I think that there was some good parts to it. And then you have Tales of the Underworld, which Cad Bane was definitely that was really good. I very much enjoyed Cad Bane's story and him having like this friend of his, him going down this dark path and not changing, sort of being molded by the darkness, and I think that made him very interesting to see his backstory. So overall, I did enjoy the Cad Bane storyline. The Asajj Ventress storyline was fine. I think it was pretty good at times, but I think it also just like I don't remember as much about it, and I don't think that it did as much for me. But I did enjoy a good bit of that, so it wasn't too bad. Moving on to number 7, which I would say is probably the bridge between good and just okay, and that is Peacemaker Season 2. So Peacemaker Season 2 had some great moments. Obviously, Peacemaker's always fun. Vigilante's always fun. It was just a very weirdly paced season. Like, they took us a really long time to get to a point, and then it ends, and then the final episode is an epilogue, which I think was... I honestly, when it comes to these streaming shows, I don't actually mind the epilogue. As a matter of fact, Agatha All Along last year did that, and I thought it was done very well. How it was almost like... Because what happens in a lot of these finales, and this is one of the main complaints of the Marvel shows, is that... And also Star Wars shows as well. This is one of the main complaints of the Marvel and Star Wars shows, is that you get to the finales and it feels like there's so much that they have to do that it just does not work, and it ends up becoming way too bloated, and there's storylines that just don't get wrapped up. And so I liked the idea of like we use the penultimate episode as sort of the final battle, and then you defeat the villain in the penultimate episode, and then the finale is used as almost like an epilogue that sort of wraps up everything. And I thought that was implemented very well in Agatha All Along. This, I don't think it was implemented as well. I think that there were certain stuff that really worked, and then there's also certain stuff that really didn't. And I gotta say, I feel very gratified having watched this show and being a little weirded out by the relationship between Peacemaker and Harcourt. I know that there are some diehard fans that like that relationship, but it's just a little weird to see it and like know that her husband is James Gunn and he's the one that's writing and directing and creating this, like, and then he went on a podcast later on and was like, it was a little weird watching you guys like kiss on camera when it was he's the one that put them together in the first place, and he was the one that wrote that scene and directed that scene. Like, he didn't have to do that. And I think that there were certain ways to get around that where it just didn't have James Gunn being the creator and the one behind all that. It wouldn't be as weird. Or if he was the creator and it was somebody else who wasn't his wife. Again, there's so many ways to get around that, but unfortunately, just the way it came about, it just felt very weird. And yeah, so that's sort of what that was with Peacemaker. I thought it was a twist with Rick Flag Sr. and just kind of turning like that. Lex Luthor was fun. I enjoyed Lex Luthor's cameo, and I don't really care as much for Rick Flag Sr. as a villain. But yeah. So Peacemaker Season 2, bit of an inconsistent season. I think ultimately I would skew it more towards just the okay seasons than in the great seasons. So, and we move on to the top 6. And in the top 6, this is the great seasons. And to me, I don't think there's necessarily to me, I think any one of these could be interchangeable on a different day. So we're just kind of going to be going through those real quick. Number 6, Daredevil Born Again. If I'm being completely honest, I hadn't seen the Netflix shows. I watched Daredevil seasons 1 and 2 and Jessica Jones season 1 and Defenders, and at least some of Luke Cage season 1 and some of Daredevil season 3 when Daredevil Born Again began. So I had an inkling. I just kind of I think it was a few months before it premiered. I was like, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to binge the Netflix shows in hopes that I can get as far as I can before the show starts so I can at least have some sort of an understanding. And for the most part, I thought it was really good. There was obviously in a very similar turn to Brave New World in that it was kind of patched up. This is kind of a recurring theme in this video, that a lot of things were sort of patched up in post, which is unfortunate. And that's where things turn out not as great. But there were also a couple episodes, a couple scenes done by the newer creative team that came in to fix the show. And those scenes, those episodes were so good. I love this scene between Daredevil and Punisher in episode 4. Where Punisher is just laying in on him, just saying you don't talk about Foggy, you don't I really loved that scene. Punisher's really good character. Daredevil, really good character. A lot of the cast was really good. Kingpin, great villain. Muse was okay. He didn't do all that much in the end. They kind of messed him up a bit. I thought White Tiger was cool, and they're kind of giving an origin story to the second White Tiger, which is confirmed for season 2. And obviously, you got other characters like Jessica Jones coming into season 2. So overall, I think this show, it had its problems, but I think the highs definitely put it in the great, and I think the cast is so good. So I'm putting it in the great section because of that. So moving on to number 5, this may be a controversial pick, LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Season 2. Just straight up, I love LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. I think it is... Star Wars has, especially in the Disney era, has been at its best in animation or even in LEGO. It's so fun, this concept of this reality where everything's different, and you have this different Jedi Council, this different Empire, this different Sith Empire. There is a Sith Empire here, and there's also the Rebels, and there's just different people in different factions. Just overall, there's so much fun to be had in this world that I want so many seasons of this show because it's so fun. But yeah, and I think that I'm not sure whether I like this season more or less than season 1, but I think that there is quite a bit to like about season 2. So moving on, we have episode 4. So moving on, we have number 4, the Fantastic Four First Steps. I thought this was great. I thought it told the story of the characters very well. It was different from anything we had seen with the Fantastic Four before. I thought it was very interesting how this story sort of told them as celebrities, whereas in the past movies they focused more on them being social outcasts. And I liked that. I liked the teases for Doomsday, how they kind of the introduction to the Fantastic Four and also like the post-credit scene with Doom, that was really interesting, and I enjoyed that thoroughly. So yeah, we have that, and just in general, I thought this movie was very solid. I thought the cast was great. This is easily my favorite Human Torch. I'll tell you that much. He is. I think they did a really good job making his character, like he's still got that fun, like jokey side that he had in the other movies, but I like how they kind of blended that in with some serious notes. The scene with him like learning Silver Surfer's language and confronting her with this like, I know that you're doing all this just to spare your own planet, so why does your planet get to live when all these other planets get to die? And I thought that that was such a good scene. I thought Mr. Fantastic was great. His powers looked pretty good, and he was very, very much like he is in the comics, I think. And just in general, I thought the cast was great. I loved the Thing and how he looked the most comic accurate. Invisible Woman was great. She sort of was the voice of reason in the team, which she is in the comics, and I thought that that was really cool. She kind of like pulls the team together with all their different personalities and all their different story beats. Moving on to number 3, we're in the top 3 now. Number 3, Andor Season 2. I love Andor Season 1. I think it's so good, and I would have loved to see 5 seasons of this show with this level of quality. It would have been so good. Unfortunately, we did not get that. And I think at times this season kind of suffered from that, because as much as it may have been a challenge and the show may have dwindled in quality as seasons went on if we had 5 seasons, but season 1, it just like, it had time with the 12 episodes to really be able to build up to a finale. And to me, it almost felt like very much in a similar vein to Peacemaker, where like the third to last arc was sort of, honestly, even like, what was it? The Gorman Massacre felt like the finale, sort of, and then the last 4 episodes were epilogue. And they were really good episodes. Like, I thought the storylines, every character is so good. The cast is incredible in this show. The writing is top tier. Just like everything about the show is incredible. It is so good. And the only thing that I think season 2 suffered from is that it kind of had to sort of hop years every 3 episodes. Like, suddenly, oh, we're escaping this planet, and the next episode, it's been a year and we're living on Coruscant and we have this safe house and everything's fine. And then, but they also have to like, they have to keep the characters somewhat stable. They can't just suddenly get over things in a year. Even though I think if it was a season, they probably had made more progress by that point. What I mean by that is like, if each year had the 12 episodes that season 1 had, I think they probably would have made more character development in between years. But I thought each season did pretty good. Each arc was okay. It was pretty good overall. I think the entire season was very good. So yeah, Andor Season 2 continues the excitement of Season 1. It's very, very good, very, very high quality. Love the cast, the characters, the acting, the writing, just everything is so good in this show. But I think Season 2 is a bit of a step down as of story-wise when it comes to Season 1. Number 2, 2 left. Number 2 is Superman. The beginning, the first film of the DCU. It's really, really good. It gets Superman right in so many ways. There are a few things that I don't think are amazing, but I think overall this movie gets Superman, and I think it gets me excited for other characters to be done right in the DCU. I think getting to see it excites me for the DCU more than certain other projects like Creature Commandos and Peacemaker. I love how I feel like they got Jimmy Olsen right. They got Lex Luthor done really well. Superman was done really well. Just overall, the cast crew did great. James Gunn, once again showing he has not missed when it comes to superhero movies. He is so good at what he does when it comes to superhero movies. I know a lot of people were worried when it came to this movie about like James Gunn directing a Superman movie, because all he had done was like directing the Nobodies, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad, just those lonely little weirdos, not Superman, not like one of the biggest heroes in DC. And so when you go into it and you watch James Gunn do his thing, and it's still turns out amazing. He found the humanity of the characters, and that made it so much more interesting. But number one, if you don't already know, first place, my personal, as of right now at least, this could change, who knows, opinions can change, is my top favorite project of this year, Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers. You're not gonna make a Red Guardian movie, you're not gonna make a Yelena Belova movie, you wouldn't think to, and yet, because there isn't that pressure, you get to really go into the characters, you can really invent sort of what these characters are about. What is their story? And I think that really allows, and also it allows for the story to really tell itself. And I think also with Thunderbolts, it felt like they actually had a goal in mind with the story. It didn't feel preachy. Like, it didn't feel like they were just like saying, here's the message of the movie, here's the message of the movie. But it also told us message very plain and clearly, and it's that, you know, it's important to have people you can talk to, people who you can, you know, just be around that care about you. And I think it was a really good message. It was a really good movie. The cast was great. Just overall, such a good movie. I thought it was, to me, I think this is where the MCU really started to come back into the fold and really started to understand what it was doing. Sadly, we are a year away from Doomsday and the end of the Multiverse Saga, but I think Thunderbolts has cemented itself as one of the best of the Multiverse Saga. So, that is my picks, the 12 entries from Marvel, Star Wars, and DC this year, and what I think are the best of the best. So now we're going to move on to next year, what we can look forward to with next year. And I'll be going over everything we have coming out in the following year from Marvel, Star Wars, and DC, and what I would say are my favorites and or most anticipated. And I'll be saying what my most anticipated and least anticipated of them are. So, for Marvel, we have Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Doomsday, The Wonder Man Show, Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Vision Quest, and The Punisher Special Presentation. For DC, there's a little bit less. Supergirl, Clayface, and The Lanterns Show. There could be some more that we just haven't been announced yet. We'll see. And then for Star Wars, we have The Mandalorian and Grogu, the first Star Wars movie released in almost 7 years, which is crazy. Ahsoka Season 2, Maul, Shadow Lord, Visions, The Ninth Jedi, and while this isn't officially confirmed, I think we'll probably get a trailer for it at some point with an announcement for it. I'm assuming we'll probably get another season of Tales of on May the 4th, just because that's what their formula has been, and they don't reveal these things. Like, they didn't reveal last year they were doing Tales of the Underworld. They just kind of like gave us the trailer, and that's about it. So yeah, we'll probably get that even though it's not confirmed. I'm putting it on this list because odds are good it will happen. So for Marvel, my most anticipated is Spider-Man Brand New Day, just because I think Spider-Man's a really good character and the cast looks great. and it looks like it's going to be like a really fun Spider-Man story in New York, and that excites me. We got Punisher in there, which I'm very excited about. Tombstone, which is cool. Scorpion coming back, very exciting. And the Hulk is apparently going to be in the movie. Who knows what that's going to be about? Sadie Sink is playing a character. We don't know who she's playing. But yeah. And then I think my least anticipated of next year, unfortunately, it's going to have to go to the first thing coming out next year, and that's Wonder Man. I don't know enough about the character, and the trailers aren't winning me over as much. I don't think this is something that's needed necessarily, and I'm worried that this is in the same vein as Ironheart, where it's just like a show that they already had been working on, and they didn't really want to like get rid of it, so they're just like, all right, we're just gonna release it. I'm just worried that it's not gonna amount to much. I'm hopeful. I want it to be really good, but I just don't think it's as exciting to me. For DC, there's not that much, so I'm just going to go over them. My most anticipated, as of right now, is Supergirl, just because I liked Superman a lot, and Supergirl's continuation of that story. Got Lobo entering in, which is exciting, and just overall, I think it's going to be very, very fun. The trailers made me excited for the movie. My least anticipated, unfortunately, it's got to go to Clayface. I don't see much need for a Clayface movie. I don't think that we really need a Clayface movie. It could be good. Who knows? It could be very good. James Gunn seems to really like the script, and maybe it could be like a standout hit. Like I said, characters who you don't expect to get really good movies or shows often do. So it's very possible that Clayface could blow us out of the water. And lastly, for Star Wars, my most anticipated. I'm not as anticipated for a lot of these Star Wars projects, unfortunately. My most anticipated though, it's got to go to Maul, Shadow Lord. I think Maul is such a good character, and Sam Witwer is working on it, and he's such a Star Wars fan, so I think that'll be great. He is a really good Maul too, and I'm excited to see where they take Maul in this show. And my least anticipated, unfortunately, it's going to have to go to Visions, The Ninth Jedi. I'm not that big of a fan of Star Wars Visions. I didn't care about it as much. And so I'm not as anticipating a spin-off. New location for the outro. So thank you all so much for watching this year. And I assure you, we do have some other stuff coming. Maybe it could be some shorts, maybe not, who knows. But we hope you guys have enjoyed it. Break it down in December, and we hope to see you next year for some new videos. And hope you guys enjoy. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.